You watch those home renovation shows, and it's easy to think, hey, I could do that. For years, flipping houses looked like a surefire way to get rich quick. But that whole dream, well, it's hitting a pretty big wall, and the data is telling a whole new story.
So, let's start with the one number that says it all, 25.5%. That was the average return on investment for a home flip last year. Now, you might be thinking, hey, that doesn't sound too terrible. But to really understand why this number is such a massive deal, we need to rewind the clock a bit.
And yeah, you're reading that right. You have to go all the way back to the great financial crisis of 2008 to find profit margins this thin. And that brings up this incredible paradox. Home prices are hitting record highs. So how is it that flippers are getting squeezed this badly? What is going on here?
Okay, so the first thing we have to do is just face the music. The golden age of flipping, it's over. For more than a decade, it really felt like a non-stop gold rush. But the numbers we're seeing now, they paint a very, very different picture.
And you can see the pullback pretty much everywhere you look. Just under 300,000 flips were completed last year. That's down almost 4% from the year before, and it's the lowest total number we've seen since 2020. It means that flipping now makes up a smaller piece of the pie, just 7.4% of all home sales.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective. I mean, right after 2008, it was a flipper's dream. You could snap up cheap houses and see these massive returns. But then you look at the last couple of years, and you can see the trend just reversing, with both the number of flips and the profits heading south.
And this gets us to the absolute heart of the matter, the central puzzle of today's market. Home prices are through the roof all over the country. So how in the world is it possible that the people who renovate and sell them are actually making less money?
This is what we're calling the flipper's paradox. The prices for the finished renovated homes are way up, which should mean fatter profits. But instead, they're plummeting. And the reason is simple, but it's brutal. The price of the homes flippers have to buy is also at a record high, and it's just completely eating away at their potential gains. And you can see the damage right here on the bottom line. The typical gross profit on a flip fell to just under $66,000. Just let that sink in for a second. In just 1 year, more than $11,000 in potential profit just vanished from the average deal.
And this quote from Rob Barber, the CEO of ATTOM, he absolutely nails it. Basically, there just aren't enough houses for sale. So flippers are now in a bidding war with regular home buyers and other investors. And that's what's driving up purchase prices and making it so hard to find a deal with any meat left on the bone.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This slowdown isn't happening everywhere equally. The minute you zoom in from that big national trend, the picture just fractures. What's a downturn in one city is a full-on boom somewhere else.
I mean, just take a look at these markets. In a place like Salisbury, Maryland, the flipping rate fell off a cliff by a staggering 42% in just 1 year. That's a market that's hitting the brakes, and hitting them hard.
But then you get this. In Binghamton, New York, flipping more than doubled. And in parts of Colorado, it's surging by over 70%. It just goes to show you, there are still these pockets of crazy activity out there, even while the rest of the country cools down.
And the profits are just as all over the place. In Ocala, Florida, the return on investment just collapsed. Though, let's be real, it was at an insane level to begin with. Meanwhile, you go to Peoria, Illinois, and the returns actually went up quite a bit. It is the perfect reminder that in real estate, it is always location, location, location.
So, with profits this tight and markets this divided, how are the successful flippers still in the game? Well, they're changing the rules. They've basically written a whole new playbook for a much, much tougher market.
And this new playbook is all about being laser-focused. Instead of chasing those easy cosmetic flips, they're hunting for hidden value. That means they're taking on older homes that need a lot more work, the kind of projects that scare off all the amateurs. It also means running an incredibly tight budget and using financing more strategically to make every dollar work harder.
And here is the perfect stat to prove that point. The average house that got flipped last year was built back in 1978. That is the oldest median age ever recorded. This shows that investors are deliberately taking on the headaches of a 50-year-old house just to find a workable profit margin.
We're also seeing a subtle but really important shift in how these deals get done. Now, cash is still king, of course, but the share of flips bought with financing, it ticked up to almost 38%. It shows that in a tight market, investors are having to use more leverage just to make their capital go further.
Okay, so flippers are having a hard time. Why does any of this matter to the rest of us? Well, because flipping is often seen as kind of a canary in the coal mine for the wider housing market. So what is it telling us right now?
The first question everybody asks is, are we about to have a crash? Well, based on this data, the answer seems to be no. This looks a lot more like a market that's correcting itself, not one that's about to collapse.
And there are a few key signs of stability. For one, the time it takes to actually complete a flip is holding steady, which means renovated homes aren't just sitting on the market forever. That tells us buyer demand is still strong. We're also seeing a small increase in buyers who use FHA loans. Those are government-backed mortgages that are really popular with first-time buyers, and that's a great sign for the market's foundation.
So, the ultimate takeaway here isn't that the sky is falling. It's that the market is maturing. The days of amateur flippers making a quick, easy buck on just any old project are gone. This is now a game for the seasoned professionals who really know how to manage costs and find value where others can't. Which of course leaves us with the one big question. Is this disciplined, professional-driven market the new normal we should all get used to? Or is this big profit squeeze just a temporary calm before the next major storm hits the housing market? I guess only time will tell.